My dear viewers, have you ever wondered what makes a landscape truly breathtaking? Its grandeur or its danger? In China, there are towering mountains rising through the clouds, pathways clinging to sheer cliffs, and deep canyons where nature leaves almost no room for mistakes. These are places where people do not simply pass through beautiful scenery, but walk along the edge of the abyss, facing dizzying heights, paths barely wide enough for a single footstep, and the unsettling feeling that one small mistake could send them plunging into the void below. Some of these places were created as monuments to boldness, bordering on recklessness, while others remain untouched and terrifyingly wild, where rocky peaks, powerful winds, and deep chasms silently test the limits of human survival. Today, we will explore the most dangerous places in China, where beauty and fear coexist on the fragile boundary between magnificence and the abyss. Tiandu Peak, situated in the Anhui Mountains, is a massive stone block rising straight into the sky, with paths clinging to dangerous deep abyss edges. Travelers face a free fall from nearly 6,000 feet, which equals 6 Bitexco towers, stacked together if any single mistake occurs on the mountain. Huge boulders weighing dozens of tons sit precariously on the cliff edge, as if ready to collapse at any moment, constantly threatening all human safety. A 50-foot-long rock strip connecting the mountain masses has bottomless canyons on both sides, causing many people to become paralyzed with extreme fear. The walkway system was carved entirely by hand into solid rock hundreds of years ago, creating some of the most incredibly harsh survival challenges for visitors. The narrow stone path, measuring only 3 feet wide, forces climbers to grip iron chains and crawl on all 4 limbs across steep stairs. Yarlung Tsangpo Grand Canyon in Tibet, China, opens like a massive cut through the Himalayas, where a river is forced between towering mountain walls. This canyon is several times deeper than America's Grand Canyon, creating one of the strongest land height differences on Earth. The Yarlung Tsangpo River cuts through Himalayan terrain, showing the powerful erosion of rivers in complex, high mountain environments. The landscape changes quickly here, moving from humid forest to cold, high mountains within one continuous terrain system. Satellite images once helped the public clearly see the huge curved structure of Yarlung Tsangpo Grand Canyon from space. The river later becomes part of the Brahmaputra system, linking this canyon directly to cross-border water resources. In Shanxi Province, China, Mount Huashan rises about 7,070 feet, famous for vertical granite cliffs and extremely dangerous climbing routes. Some climbing sections were carved directly into stone, forcing visitors to pull iron chains for balance on steep mountain ground. Huashan is one of China's 5 great mountains, so it goes beyond ordinary tourism in the history of belief. For Taoism, Huashan has long served as a place for cultivation and rituals where ancient religious architecture is still preserved. Huashan is on UNESCO's tentative World Heritage List for its natural and cultural value, but it is not an official site yet. The area also preserves more than 300 stone tablets and about 570 inscriptions, turning cliffs into historical records. Tiger Leaping Gorge is located in Yunnan, China, known for a deep canyon formed by the Jinsha River cutting through high mountains. The trekking route stretches about 9 miles, making it a demanding experience that requires strong stamina and careful movement on steep terrain. Some parts of the gorge are only about 80 feet wide, forcing the river through a narrow gap between almost vertical cliffs. On both sides of Tiger Leaping Gorge, mountains rise nearly 20,000 feet, creating a dramatic height difference within one view. This area was recognized by UNESCO as part of the 3 parallel rivers of Yunnan Protected Areas World Heritage Site in 2003. Tiger Leaping Gorge plays an important role in mountain biodiversity conservation, supporting species such as snow leopards, mountain goats, and large predatory eagles. In Tibet, China, Mount Everest's north face appears as a huge wall of ice and rock on Earth's highest mountain. Everest rises about 29,032 feet on the border of Tibet and Nepal, where thin air quickly exhausts the human body. The northern side stands out because its dry, open highland has few trees, letting the whole mountain mass appear clearly from far away. Ancient rock layers here once lay beneath the ocean floor before tectonic collision lifted them into the massive Himalayas. The north face has steep gullies, sharp ridges, and large ice sections dividing the mountain wall into powerful visual blocks. Many early Everest expeditions approached from the Tibetan north, tying this side closely to the history of modern mountaineering. Mount Gongga in Sichuan, China, rises about 24,790 feet, standing like a giant ice wall across the sky. This mountain is famous for extreme danger, where fast-changing weather can turn every climb into a survival test. Its landscape feels unusual because glaciers, cliffs, deep forests, and thick clouds can appear in one single view. From a distance, Mount Gongga looks like a white fortress isolated among dark ridges and deep valleys. What makes it so gripping is the sharp contrast between permanent ice above and dense green vegetation below. Many climbers see it as one of the hardest mountains on Earth, even though it is lower than the famous Himalayas. Mount Kailash in Tibet towers like a massive quartz pyramid with a perfectly symmetrical shape that challenges every single known law of the natural world. Walking the 32-mile path around the base at 16,000 feet of elevation is a brutal survival challenge for the human body. Oxygen levels here are only 50% of sea level, making every movement on the rocky ground feel as heavy as carrying thick stones. Even at 21,700 feet, this is the only mountain worldwide where no human footprint has ever reached the highest summit. Compass devices frequently lose their direction due to powerful magnetic fields coming from the giant quartz structures located deep within the holy mountain heart. In the mountains of Hunan, Tianmen Mountain Road opens with packed bends, pulling listeners into a tense journey that clings closely to steep stone ground. The road is only about 7 miles long, yet it keeps rising and turning, making this short route feel harsher than ordinary mountain passes. This place is famous not only for steepness, but also because the road is pressed against nearly vertical mountain terrain. From above, the pale grey pavement winds between green mountain masses, constantly changing direction through narrow curves. Many travel sources call this route Avenue to Heaven, because it climbs from low ground toward high mountains through very dense bends. In 2016, an Italian driver finished almost the full road in 10 minutes and 31 seconds, spreading its image further worldwide. On the dangerous cliffs of Henan, China, Guoliang Tunnel Road appears as a bold passage carved deep into solid rock. The road was completed after about 5 years of heavy labor, with roughly 848,000 cubic feet of rock removed. The route is only wide enough for one lane, so moving through it always feels tense because the space is narrow and visibility is limited. Construction began in 1972, when local residents used hammers, steel chisels, and human labor to open a route through the mountainside. Blocks of rock were removed from the cliff through years of work, turning an almost isolated place into a real road. More than 30 openings of different sizes once helped workers dump broken rock, then became the most recognizable mark of this route. The Nyan Kentangla Mountains in Tibet stretch like a powerful guardian, with sharp peaks piercing the dark sky and creating an incredibly hostile and dangerous environment. The highest summit reaches 24,000 feet, matching 16 landmark 81 buildings, while the oxygen concentration drops to nearly 40%. The massive continental glacier system here hides deep vertical cracks that can swallow an entire expedition team within the blink of a single eye. Intense light reflecting from the permanent ice blocks has the power to damage the retinas and cause immediate snow blindness for any unprotected traveler. Northern mountain slopes possess an average incline of 60 degrees, which prevents thick snow layers from sticking and causes them to collapse without warning. Many international climbers have remained forever within the icy heart of these peaks because they underestimated the brutal cruelty of these metamorphic rock walls. The Kilian Mountains blocking the Gansu and Qinghai border rise like a frozen fortress wall, separating life from the harsh and unforgiving surrounding desert lands. At 19,000 feet, the oxygen levels drop so low that the human brain becomes sluggish and the body falls into uncontrollable extreme fatigue. Many mountain trails clinging to cliffs are less than 3 feet wide, so just one single slip will send a traveler falling into abysses. Massive orphan rocks, weighing as much as 100 elephants, frequently collapse from glaciers and crash down into the valley, crushing everything in sight. When ice melts, the rocky valleys turn into sinking mud traps that swallow off road vehicles and isolate people within the remote, desolate wilderness. For thousands of years, the bones of many merchants have remained deep beneath the thick ice layers because they could not survive the snowstorms. In the mountains of Hunan, China, Zhangjiajie Glass Bridge leads visitors into a deep canyon through a transparent path not made for hesitant steps. The bridge stretches about 1,410 feet and measures 20 feet wide with transparent glass beneath visitors' feet. When it opened in 2016, it was promoted among the longest and highest pedestrian glass bridges in the world. Visitor demand became so intense that the bridge closed after only 13 days, not from damage, but from operating overload. The surrounding scene stands out through steep cliffs, deep forest below, and a wide, empty gap between two mountain walls. Before public opening, the glass deck was tested with hammers and heavy trucks to prove its strength under crowded conditions. Being a highway bridge, Aijai Bridge is one of the longest bridges in the world. It crosses the Dehang Grand Canyon, making it an engineering marvel in China. The bridge is famous for its 3,858-foot main span, making the roadway look like a thin steel line in the air. From above, cars on the bridge look like tiny black dots, making the depth below easier to see and understand. The scenery around Aijai Bridge stands out because red steel, steep slopes, deep space, and low clouds appear in one frame. From far away, the bridge looks like a straight modern line, cutting across rough land, showing how humans shape the terrain. Guinness recognized Aijai Bridge as the highest tunnel-to-tunnel bridge because it hangs above a very deep gap. Deep in the mountains of Guizhou, China, Beipanjiang Bridge appears as a reared roadway across open air, making the valley below feel even more overwhelming. The bridge stretches about 4,400 feet, with a main span of about 2,362 feet across the huge gap between mountains. Its tallest tower reaches about 883 feet, holding the cable-stayed system and roadway steady above difficult mountain terrain. From the air, vehicles on the bridge become visibly tiny, making viewers immediately feel the height and empty distance below. Beipanjiang Bridge turns a valley nearly 1,900 feet deep into a direct route instead of forcing traffic around long mountain roads. Guinness once recognized Beipanjiang Bridge as the world's highest bridge in 2018, bringing this mountain project onto international media. Karakoram Highway runs between Xinjiang, China, and Pakistan, standing out as a high mountain road through Asia's harshest terrain. The entire route stretches about 807 miles, crossing borders, plateaus, deep valleys, and long sections of severe mountain land. The highway reaches about 15,466 feet, making it one of the world's highest international paved roads. Karakoram Highway impresses with a narrow road surface, passing through bare mountains, vertical cliffs, deep valleys, and distant snow peaks. The project took nearly 20 years to complete because workers had to cut through rugged, remote, and landslide-prone terrain. More than 1,000 Chinese and Pakistani workers were reported to have died during construction from rockfalls, avalanches, and landslides. Panlong Ancient Road in Xinjiang, China, is famous for more than 600 sharp bends across dry, high mountain terrain. The road stretches about 47 miles, but its 22-mile section, packed with tight curves, is the most shocking part. This route climbs from about 9,843 feet to 13,832 feet, making the drive tense. From above, the dark road stands out against dry mountain slopes, creating a powerful visual effect for photos and videos. Many turns approach 180 degrees, making this road difficult for motion-sick passengers or inexperienced mountain drivers. In 2025, Panlong Ancient Road reopened its self-driving tourism season with more than 300 vehicles joining the first convoy. Duku Highway in Xinjiang opens as a 350-mile route crossing high mountains and valleys where landscapes shift continuously along the road. This road usually operates for only 4 to 5 months each year because heavy snow makes several sections unstable. During one journey, travelers can observe snow-covered peaks, wide grasslands, and dry land appearing within a short distance. Many segments curve along mountain slopes, allowing clear views of terrain from higher elevations down to lower areas. Duku Highway attracts visitors not just as transport, but as a direct experience of natural landscape transitions. In some years, the route closes earlier than planned, due to landslides or snow, making each trip unpredictable. In the mountains of Tibet, China, Namcha Bawa appears as a mysterious snow peak, often hidden from view by thick clouds. Chinese National Geography once ranked it first among China's most beautiful mountains in a 2005 public selection. Namcha Bawa does not impress with a soft mountain shape, but with sharp structure, steep slopes, hard edges, and a hard-to-reach feeling. The peak once held the title of the world's highest unclimbed independent mountain before its first successful ascent in 1992. Many people come here not only to see a snow mountain, but to wait for the rare moment when the whole summit appears. Namcha Bawa's strongest pull is that its 25,531-foot summit often disappears behind clouds, making a full view very rare. Taklamakan Desert lies in Xinjiang, western China, opening like a vast dry sea of sand where the horizon offers almost no landmark. The desert stretches about 600 miles from west to east, making distance water and direction real survival challenges. Deep sand layers in Taklamakan show this place is not merely covered by sand, but built from long-term sand accumulation. High continuous dunes create severe terrain, making travelers lose direction easily among shifting bands of sand. Vegetation in Taklamakan is extremely sparse, with almost the entire area lacking green cover and leaving the landscape widely empty. Rivers from the mountains can flow into Taklamakan before disappearing into the sand, showing how strongly this desert swallows water. Hozil lies in Qinghai, China, on the northeastern edge of the Qinghai-Tibet Plateau, where cold, open land is almost empty of people. This area became a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2017, thanks to its vast plateau scenery and special highland ecosystem. Hozil stands above 14,764 feet, making this landscape a real challenge for outsiders. The area is famous for Tibetan antelope migration, when female herds cross the wide plateau to give birth each year. Hozil's scenery includes high mountains, cold grasslands, plateau lakes, frozen ground, and empty spaces stretching toward the horizon. More than 70,000 Tibetan antelopes are now recorded in Hozil after years of anti-poaching protection and strict conservation. Lop Nur in Xinjiang opens across the dry northwest of China, where an old lake has become a vast grey-white salt surface. It is known as the Wandering Lake because its water position and shape once changed with currents, wind, and sediment. Average rainfall is only about 1.2 inches each year, while evaporation can reach 114 inches, making lasting water almost impossible. From above, Lop Nur shows circular lines, salt marks, and sediment patches, creating a shape easily recognized on satellite images. The scenery is neither a normal lake nor a sand desert, but a dry, flat, hard surface with almost total emptiness. From 1964 to 1996, Lop Nur recorded 45 nuclear tests linking this land to modern military history. Fanjingshan Golden Summit in Guizhou Province challenges human survival with its solitary, metamorphic rock structure rising straight through the vast and endless sea of white clouds. Travelers must conquer 8,000 steep stone steps angled at 80 degrees, which is like climbing the world's tallest building 3 times in a row. The single path on the cliff is less than 3 feet wide, making every step a life gamble above a deep abyss of 200 floors. Two ancient temples perch precariously on the 1,000-year-old rock pillars, connected by a narrow bridge stretching across a dangerous and profound mountain gorge. Massive rock formations with a history of 1 billion years, stacked together in a fragile way, as if they are challenging all known laws of gravity. Gripping tightly to the rusted iron chains along the vertical mountain cliffs is the only way to stay alive when facing the immense and infinite void. Located in Yunnan, the Nujiang Canyon Road clings to the vertical cliffs of the deepest gorge on Earth, where extreme danger waits at every turn. This narrow roadway forces side mirrors within inches of jagged rock walls, creating a survival challenge trapped between solid stone and the bottomless dark abyss. The raging river speed below the road moves as fast as professional sprinters standing ready to swallow anything falling into the deep heart of canyon. This route sits upon active geological fault lines that constantly shift, causing giant boulders to potentially collapse onto the pavement at any unpredictable moment. Mount Hengshan in Hunan Province hides immense dangers behind the thick white fog covering the massive granite structure that reaches 4,200 feet high. The cable car line hanging over the deep and empty abyss becomes a terrifying nightmare for those travelers who possess a weak mental state. Pilgrims must overcome tens of thousands of winding stone steps, which is equal to conquering the tallest tower in France 15 times in a row. Ancient architectural systems cling tightly to the edges of the deep precipice, using wooden joinery techniques to challenge the destruction of sudden lightning strikes. Dense clouds rolling down the mountain crevices can surround and completely erase all traces of human presence within just a few short and scary seconds. The mountain Imei Shan in Sichuan rises like a massive stone wall, with vertical 90-degree cliffs that challenge every human limit to the absolute edge. Hikers must conquer a 37-mile-long walking path, which equals climbing continuously through 6 Burj Khalifa towers, stacked together without any single break. Stone stairs stay coated in moss, as slippery as grease, making every step, moving close to deep abyss edges, become a high-stake, lethal gamble. Aggressive wild monkeys frequently attack tourists on precarious rocky outcrops to steal their food and push them into extremely dangerous situations along the mountain. This 10,000-foot summit is a fractured limestone block hanging amidst thick mist that completely hides the deadly and silent abyss located right below. Many ancient pilgrims once threw themselves into the deep void from the mountaintop due to powerful spiritual beliefs at this thin line of life. Mount Songshan in Henan province stands tall like a massive stone book, preserving 3 billion years of threatening history in the middle of the flat plains. Pilgrims must conquer 5,000 feet of elevation on steep stairs, which is equal to climbing the highest twin towers in Malaysia 3 times on foot. The vertical quartz cliffs look sharp, like millions of giant knives stabbing straight into the sky, ready to challenge every single bit of human courage. Narrow trail systems, only wide enough for one person, cling to the upright mountain walls, making travelers constantly face the bottomless and very dark abyss. Deep cracks penetrating through the mountain heart create canyons so dark that natural sunlight can never reach down to the cold and stony ground below. Natural rockfall events frequently occur after heavy rain, transforming the narrow mountain paths into extremely dangerous zones for any person who dares to pass through. Siguniangshan, located in Sichuan, is a group of 4 sharp limestone peaks with cold grey granite cliffs that remain extremely challenging and dangerous. The highest summit reaches 20,000 feet, matching the height of 7 Burj Khalifa towers, causing oxygen levels to drop and threatening human life. Sudden massive avalanches can occur at any unpredictable moment, transforming the poetic mountain slopes into a white grave within just a few short seconds. Eternal glaciers hide deep vertical cracks beneath thin layers of soft snow, creating deadly traps waiting for any careless steps during the long climb. The southern mountain walls possess a vertical slope like a giant stone blade, which is a source of pure terror for professional mountain climbers. Many expeditions have never returned from these slopes, leaving their personal belongings forever buried deep inside the ice within this highly destructive environment. Baima Snow Mountain in Yunnan Province stands tall, like a wall of eternal ice, with peaks over 16,000 feet, reaching straight to pierce the sky. The winding mountain pass at 13,800 feet makes travelers feel like they are moving higher than the peak of the European Alps. Sharp curves located beside the edges of deep and vast abysses mean that one small steering mistake can cause a terrifying and fatal freefall. Transparent black ice covering the road surface transforms every vehicle into an uncontrollable toy on those sharp and extremely dangerous mountain cliffs of jagged rock. Water melting from the glacial ice makes human nerves completely paralyzed if they have direct contact for more than 30 seconds of real time. Harshest Snow Mountain towering in Yunnan presents a grim challenge, with black polished granite cliffs covered in eternal ice and snow that remain extremely dangerous. At 18,000 feet, the oxygen concentration drops so low that the brain easily falls into hallucinations, and the heart beats painfully fast. Slippery stone slopes, stretching hundreds of yards, stand ready to send climbers sliding uncontrollably down into the deep and dark abysses located directly below. Fresh snow layers covering deep cracks create invisible traps that can break the bones of anyone who accidentally steps into these high-risk areas. Many people have lost their lives here because of the deceptive terrain that looks easy but hides lethal altitude sickness within its freezing heart. The Altan Mountains in southeastern Xinjiang rise like a massive golden wall, separating humanity from a primitive death zone filled with many treacherous, hidden traps. This isolated region covers a vast area equal to the entire country of Italy, yet the total number of permanent residents is exactly 0. Dangerous mud pockets, hiding beneath ground that looks solid, are ready to completely swallow an off-road vehicle in only a few short minutes. Salt concentrations in the clear blue lakes are 10 times higher than ocean water, making it impossible for humans to use for sustaining life. Giant wild yaks weighing up to 2,200 pounds frequently attack any target invading their territory with the strength of a small car. The fragile atmosphere at 14,800 feet allows powerful cosmic rays to strike down and damage the electronic equipment of any research expedition. Three Parallel Rivers in Yunnan is a terrifying geological maze where 3 major rivers are imprisoned between colossal stone walls, creating a deadly landscape. The depth from peak to riverbed reaches 10,000 feet, which is 2.5 times deeper than the famous Grand Canyon in Arizona. Local residents must cross the ferocious rivers by sliding on a simple single cable suspended high above the deep and very dangerous dark abyss. Beneath the water surface, hidden rocks create powerful black whirlpools, strong enough to submerge and crush any protective equipment belonging to the travelers. Mountain cliffs are composed of fragile metamorphic rocks that frequently cause massive landslides capable of completely flattening every single path within the area. Due to the narrow and deep terrain, GPS signals and radio waves often become distorted or completely disappear inside these very formidable and steep canyons. The Dadu River Canyon in Sichuan resembles a deep gash into the earth, with vertical cliffs standing at nearly 90 degrees, posing a very massive challenge. With a depth reaching 8,500 feet, this location is 2.5 times deeper than the world's highest Burj Khalifa building in Dubai. Massive water flow here possesses terrifying power enough to easily sweep away heavy rocks weighing 50 tons like they were just tiny pieces of debris. Narrow spaces between two towering cliffs create strange air pressure that makes humans feel as though their chests are being squeezed constantly and very hard. Unmanned aerial vehicles frequently lose control and crash directly into the hard rock walls due to the turbulent airflow inside the very narrow canyon floors. The Badain Jaran Desert in Inner Mongolia, China, is an extreme terrain challenge where the boundary between life and death becomes fragile. This vast wasteland covers an area of about 19,000 square miles, creating a giant natural maze that causes people to lose their way. It possesses fixed sand dune ranges as high as 1,600 feet, forming towering geographic barriers that make any movement difficult. The unexpected appearance of the lake system among fine sand creates visual illusions, making route determination dangerously unpredictable. The complex terrain system, along with complete isolation from the outside world, makes rescue operations a very difficult survival puzzle. All efforts to conquer this area require careful preparation of both physical strength and skills, because hidden risks are always present everywhere. Spanning across the Xinjiang, autonomous region Kumtag Desert is a vast wilderness that challenges the limits of exploration for every adventurer. With a vast area covering 8,800 square miles, this land is a continuous desert block, possessing extremely dangerous and unpredictable terrain. Sand dunes, reaching 250 feet in height, create large barriers that block paths, making visibility here completely obscured. The lack of water sources, combined with sinking sandy surfaces, makes moving through this region incredibly difficult. Every footprint on the fine sand surface is wiped away, turning this place into a land that cannot keep any traces. This is a harsh challenge for expedition teams where humans feel small before the immense creative power of nature. The Flaming Mountains in Xinjiang represent a red sandstone geological structure formed by the harsh rupture of the Earth's crust. This mountain range spans approximately 62 miles and possesses a width reaching 6 miles, creating a massive natural barrier. The erosion process, lasting millions of years, has created a rugged mountain surface with extremely dangerous steep cliffs. The mountain peaks in this area have an average elevation reaching 1,640 feet, causing major obstacles for conquest and travel. The complete absence of vegetation makes this environment a deserted land, without any natural water sources for survival. People lacking professional skills and preparation will face high risks when attempting to access the unstable terrain. The Turpan Depression, located in the Xinjiang Autonomous Region of China, is a geological basin with an extremely high level of harshness. This area possesses a basin bottom elevation about 500 feet below sea level, creating a very distinct topographical barrier. The scarcity of natural water sources, along with arid geological conditions, makes survival here become almost impossible to achieve. Those who lack specialized skills when approaching this land will face high risk factors that directly affect their health. Located on the Qinghai-Tibet Plateau, the Qaidam Basin is the highest inland basin in the world, with extremely rugged and completely desolate terrain. The terrain here is extremely harsh, with continuously deforming geological structures that make this area unable to sustain life. With an average elevation of 8,500 feet above sea level, the thin air in this area puts great pressure on the human body. The evaporation rate of up to 145 inches turns this salt basin into a giant salt desert with no escape for any living entity. Below the 50-foot thick hard salt crust are dangerous chemical swamps ready to swallow any object that accidentally enters here. Qaidam is not for human survival, but is clear evidence of the absolute dominance of wild nature over human encroachment. Yadan National Park in Xinjiang stretches across tens of thousands of square miles and creates a massive geological territory completely isolated from the civilized world. The rock formations here reach up to 80 feet and expose sediment layers accumulated over millions of years of the harsh history of the primitive Earth. The absence of fresh water sources makes sustaining survival in this area the toughest challenge for every expedition team. The complex labyrinth terrain covers a vast area where navigation equipment is easily disrupted by magnetic components underground. The exposed geological traces act as concrete evidence of the brutal climate changes that once wiped out life in this place. This land is not meant for survival, but only serves as an eternal testament to the absolute harshness of nature. Aiding Lake in Xinjiang is a basin that sinks 508 feet below sea level, creating the lowest point in the vast territory of China. The entire lakebed is a remnant of an ancient inland sea that has dried up, leaving behind a vast, cracked, white, salt surface. A sharp salt crust covers the surface, ready to destroy motorized vehicles and cause serious injuries to anyone who recklessly steps there. Scientists have determined this is a closed depression that retains all minerals accumulated over millions of years, forming dangerous sediment layers. The absence of life and high salinity make this a dead land challenging human survival with natural barriers. This area proves geological harshness, serving as a survival limit that humans can hardly overcome when arriving here. Harshest Lake in the Altai Mountains of Xinjiang is not just a natural wonder, but a geological trap holding countless dangers. With a depth reaching 618 feet, this basin structure creates immense water pressure that threatens anyone who falls into the quiet lake. The surrounding steep cliffs create a natural barrier, making rescue operations almost impossible to perform in case of an accident. This area contains about 190 billion cubic feet of water, a huge mass of material that creates geological instability difficult for humans to control. The ecosystem under the lake hides predatory fish species, reaching 6.5 feet in length, ready to attack any target that invades their territory. The combination of the frightening depth and isolated terrain has turned this place into one of the most dangerous regions for humans. The Tarim Desert Highway in Xinjiang, China, is a vital transport route that cuts across one of the largest sandy areas on the planet. This grand construction stretches 340 miles, connecting isolated lands located in the middle of a massive sea of sand surrounding the central desert area. To keep the road operational, engineers had to build a huge ecological belt system to prevent giant sand dunes from washing over it. People had to mobilize massive resources to move over 15.6 million cubic meters of sand while building this unique road. Every vehicle traveling on this route faces high risks when going off the main path because the terrain is constantly changing. This stands as a top engineering challenge for humanity when conquering harsh, natural environments that are completely isolated from the world. The Tianlong Mountain Spiral Bridge in Taiyuan, Shanxi, is a spiral infrastructure project that challenges technical limits on steep cliffs. This system helps vehicles overcome a height difference of 1,148 feet within a distance of only 3.66 miles, solving difficult terrain problems. engineers used 15.4 million pounds of steel to create a three-layer structure, allowing the road to wind firmly on the cliff surface. This structure completely replaces dangerous paths or detours, turning an unreachable geological area into a vital traffic route. Drivers experience the feeling of floating in mid-air while moving through the spiral loops where the view below is only a deep, bottomless abyss. This is a practical testament to the ability to conquer nature, turning harsh geographic challenges into a proud architectural achievement. The Siduohe Bridge in Hubei province in China is a bold engineering project that challenges the most difficult natural terrain limits of humanity. Upon completion, the bridge deck stands 1,627 feet above the valley floor, making this a terrifying travel route. To connect two steep cliffs, engineers had to use military rockets to shoot a guide cable across the deep abyss in a split second. The cable system, carrying 43 million pounds of force, requires absolute precision to ensure safety for all vehicles passing through. Drivers passing through here are often overwhelmed because the empty space below has absolutely no physical barriers at all. This structure is a clear testament to the human desire to conquer the most dangerous terrains in the world today. The Longgang Glass Corridor in Chongqing, China, is an adventurous structure reaching out from a steep cliff in a majestic karst landscape. The bridge structure uses specialized load-bearing materials capable of withstanding extreme weight across every single inch of the glass surface. Visitors face primal fear when walking on the transparent glass layer, looking directly down at the deep terrain beneath their feet. The unique structure extending into space provides a panoramic view for tourists standing above the dangerous abyss. This is a test of human courage against the harshness of nature at one of the most rugged locations in China. The sky ladder in the Danxia area of Guangdong is a harsh stone staircase system that challenges the endurance limits of those wanting to conquer the peak. This structure is carved into red sandstone cliffs, formed from basin sedimentation processes occurring 140 million years ago. The steps here have a vertical slope that forces climbers to use their hands to grip the iron chain system along the cliffs. With a step width of only about 5 inches, one wrong step could cause climbers to fall freely from a height of hundreds of feet. The red sandstone structure is easily eroded and fractured, keeping the path surface constantly changing and creating danger for travelers. The sky ladder is not just a simple path, but also a testament to adventurous conquest on towering red cliffs. Mount Sanqing in Jiangxi, China, is a granite cliff path system dating back 1.4 billion years. Engineers built narrow paths directly onto steep cliffs to create a risky route in the sky. This path system is attached to granite cliffs at an average height of 4,500 to 5,000 feet above sea level. This design challenges engineering limits by using steep slopes and requires great stability for safety. The highest peak of this area reaches 5,970 feet and forces visitors to face risks from the extreme height. The mix of bold building and rough nature makes this place an impossible destination. The Qinglongdong architectural complex, located on the steep cliffs of Zhonghe Mountain in Guizhou Province, China, is a testament to human boldness. Instead of being built on flat ground, this ancient structure is anchored directly into the vertical cliff face using complex manual construction techniques. The main structures are perched precariously at a height of more than 260 feet above the water level of the Wuyang River, creating a balance full of dangerous risks. Spanning an area of 226,000 square feet, this area has endured for more than 630 years without using any modern materials. Transporting construction materials to this perilous location was a life and death challenge for ancient craftsmen throughout the feudal era. The architecture here has become a unique heritage site because of its ability to challenge gravity and the unstable karst terrain of the Guizhou Mountains. Located on the Tibetan Plateau, Changtung Nature Reserve is the second largest land nature reserve in the world, with a total area of 115,000 square miles. This land maintains an average altitude of over 15,000 feet, creating terrible survival pressure for every creature existing here. Absolute isolation, along with the vast flat terrain, makes it easy for humans to fall into a state of disorientation when moving through this region. The fragile ecosystem here is the exclusive habitat for rare wild animals such as Tibetan antelopes and snow leopards. Strict legal regulations are applied to minimize human intrusion into this pristine and risky area. The existence of this reserve is proof of the power of nature when it does not suffer any human intervention. Shuanghe Cave is a massive underground network in Guizhou, formed by the relentless erosion of groundwater over millions of years into complex layers. For centuries, locals have considered this place the gateway to hell, where dozens of hunters vanished without a trace while trying to go deep inside. With a depth of 912 meters, this is an environment of extreme pressure and humidity, where minor oxygen miscalculations can cause hallucinations. To an average person, Shuanghe does not feel like a single cave, but rather an entire underground world divided into many different complex layers. Known as the Bermuda Triangle of China Lake, Poyang acts as a deadly black hole where hundreds of ships have vanished forever without a trace. Within 30 years, this area recorded more than 200 sunken ships and over 1,600 missing people, creating a terrifying and tragic statistic. Shipwrecks hidden deep beneath the mud occasionally reveal rotting wooden hulls that look like the skeletons of monsters at the bottom of the lake. The wrath of the waters at Lake Poyang serves as a warning that humans should absolutely never trespass into this deadly and forbidden territory. Perched at an altitude of over 500 meters, Shinyuzhai features vertical cliffs where a single slip can lead to certain and immediate death. Once a military fortress, during the Yuan dynasty, peasant leaders built strong defensive walls directly upon these rugged and steep mountain peaks. When experiencing the longest flying rope in Asia, you will face dizzying heights combined with an incredibly fast and thrilling movement speed. The most unique feature is the convenience store hanging on the cliffside, where staff must use safety harnesses to reach and sell goods. Located in the Guizhou limestone karst region, Geitu, he was carved by ancient waters into a massive and incredibly magnificent natural stone archway. This natural wonder resembles a giant stone eye opening on a white cliff, looking down at the green forest and the narrow river below. The limestone terrain here is extremely hard and sharp, capable of easily cutting through a climber's safety ropes at any given moment. Hanging on a cliff with no foot support and only tiny rock ledges requires you to have nerves of steel and ultimate climbing skills. The Miao people are famous for their Spider-Man skills, climbing hundreds of meters up these cliffs using only bamboo ladders and no safety gear. This stone archway is breathtaking because it does not look like a normal viewpoint, but rather like a mysterious portal opening through the mountain. Nantian Gate is located at an altitude of 4,790 feet above sea level and sits atop the steep and famous 18 Twists climb. This is the end of the walking journey from Red Gate, with a total of 6,660 stone steps, creating an extreme physical challenge. This is the place where Chinese emperors performed the Fengshan ritual to worship heaven and earth to legitimize their supreme ruling power throughout many ancient royal dynasties. Looking up from below, Nantian Gate looks like a giant shackle blocking the way to the summit, creating terrible psychological pressure for every single brave pilgrim climbing. The entire journey to climb up to the gate consists of more than 7,000 continuous stone steps that will surely make your tired legs feel very weak. Low temperatures and ice covering the steps throughout the winter transform the slippery stone stairs into an extremely dangerous ice path for all of the mountain climbers. Heaven Lake is the highest and deepest volcanic lake in China, located at an altitude of 7,182 feet above sea level. This is an active stratovolcano, warned by scientists for signs of recharging energy with a massive amount of magma stored deep beneath the surface of the lake. Winter at Heaven Lake lasts from October until June of the following year, turning the entire area into a white realm of death with extremely freezing temperatures. The calm lake surface is surrounded by 16 sharp rocky peaks, creating an atmosphere of isolation and darkness that feels very mysterious and haunting to every visitor. The amount of magma in the underground chamber is predicted to be 15%, which is an alarming number showing the strong potential for a future eruption. This is one of the rare places where you can directly observe the complete structure of a volcanic crater from a very unique and massive supervolcano. Wuzhishan is the highest peak of Hainan Island, reaching an altitude of 6,125 feet, with steep slopes that can paralyze any amateur legs. This is a place of primary tropical rainforests where humidity is always extremely high, turning every single trail into a slippery mud path with no stable footing. five peaks from a distance look like a giant hand rising from the green sea of the jungle, creating an imposing and very menacing natural view. Fern fossils from 200 million years ago, found along the way, are fragments from the Jurassic period, reminding us of a very brutal prehistoric world. Illegally entering restricted areas can lead to your immediate arrest for suspicion of espionage, and you will face very serious international legal charges in the foreign country. The steep terrain and absolute isolation require you to have professional survival skills to deal with all the hidden dangers lurking everywhere in this thick jungle. This is Baimang Snow Mountain Pass, located at 14,081 feet, where the oxygen level is only 60%, causing acute mountain sickness for you. The route through Baimang Pass is known as a truck graveyard due to frequent landslides and brake failures caused by the extremely steep slopes on the road. From the top of the pass, deep valleys expand with a massive difference between the peaks and the bottom, creating a very overwhelming and challenging natural view. The Yunnan golden monkey living here is one of the rarest and most aggressive primates in the world when they feel disturbed by any of the humans. The extreme desolation makes you feel like you are standing at the end of the world, where life is just a very thin and fragile breath. Rock layers here are often heavily weathered, increasing the risk of serious landslides on the passing routes and causing great danger for every single traveling vehicle. Shenong Peak is located at 6,963 feet, being the water divide between Hunan and Jiangxi provinces, where the weather changes every single minute. This is one of the densest primary rainforest areas where the canopy cover reaches 90%, preventing all sunlight from reaching the dark and damp forest floor today. Ancient tree trunks, with roots wrapping around huge rocks, look like fingers strangling life, creating a very mysterious and haunting natural scene for any of the visitors. GPS devices frequently lose signal due to the thick foliage and deep canyon terrain, leaving you completely isolated in the middle of this vast and wild forest. It is the boundary between medicine and poison, where just one wrong step in identifying plants is enough to pay with your own life in this place. Exploring these primary forest areas requires you to have a very careful preparation and the most professional survival skills to face all the hidden dangers today. This is Geelong, stretching over 210,000 hectares, being one of the largest and most important inland wetlands on the entire planet for everyone. Geelong is not a zoo, but a harsh wilderness where birds must fight every single day to find food in the changing environment throughout the whole year. This is home to the red-crowned crane, which is facing an extremely high risk of extinction, where the world's largest breeding population is concentrated right here. Reed marshes taller than a person's head stretch as far as the eye can see, creating a green maze where you can get lost forever today. The wooden boardwalks are the only path, and any departure from them is considered a suicidal act for the natural environment of this very challenging place now. Kekatuahai is located in Altai, where winter temperatures drop to -30 degrees Celsius, turning river surfaces into deadly ice mirrors, with many hidden traps for you. White birch forests reflecting on the freezing Irtish River create a haunting look in the middle of a wilderness that is both silent and very breathtaking today. The Karashenga Fault cuts through the ground like an unhealed wound, showing the terrifying, destructive power that comes from deep within the earth right now in China. Deep rock canyons hide poisonous gas pockets and steep cliffs ready to challenge anyone who dares to embark on this very dangerous and difficult journey right now. Carrying a survival first aid kit is an absolute requirement for you to protect yourself when facing the extreme harshness of this vast and wild reserve. Heat shock from a 50-degree temperature change during the day will quickly drain your strength in the middle of a wild nature full of many mysteries. Jiangye stands tall in Gansu province, being a fierce geological wonder where brilliant cliffs hide deadly traps for thousands of years throughout the entire region. The slope of these rock cliffs can reach 90 degrees, creating deadly zones where a single slip will lead to a very devastating and final end today. From a distance, the mountain ranges appear like a giant oil painting, with layers of red and orange colors intertwined in this wild and silent space now. Giant stone mazes once swallowed many merchants on the Silk Road when they got lost and disappeared without leaving any trace behind in this dark and wild place. Extreme sandstorms from the Gobi Desert frequently sweep through, turning the entire space into a white haze where you can easily die from total exhaustion very quickly. Sharp rock towers pierce straight into the sky, creating a cold and murderous atmosphere that challenges every human effort to enter this very dangerous and wild land. This is Huku Falls, where the vast Yellow River is suddenly narrowed into a rocky canyon, which is only about 30 meters in width in China today. During major flood seasons, the water flow here can reach 4,000 cubic meters per second, creating a very powerful and amazing pressure for the entire region. The resounding sound from this waterfall can be heard from a long distance away, creating strong vibrations for a very wide and vast space of our nature. The paths passing through the Dragon Cave area are often in a slippery state, making your movement become much more difficult and also very challenging for you. Water falling from a height of 9 meters creates columns of steam rising dozens of meters high, looking like white smoke in the middle of the deep river. Current geological studies indicate that erosion is making this canyon gradually narrower and increasing the water pressure to extreme levels throughout the very long and wild river. This is Red Beach Panjin, a coastal wetland area that is very prominent, with a layer of vibrant red vegetation covering the entire and vast surface. Every autumn, the entire Red Beach looks like a giant network of blood vessels being exposed right on the surface of our own planet today. Moving around the Red Beach area gives you the feeling of walking on an uncertain surface that is full of many hidden and unexpected surprises now. Getting lost in areas without walkways is extremely dangerous for you, because the deep mud can contain many sharp metal fragments from old industrial times. Spontaneous tours here are often suspended because of safety risks and the danger of causing serious damage to this very important and protected nature reserve. Mud creatures here are facing the risk of oil poisoning, even though they are the life source for thousands of migratory bird species every year. This is Yarlung Zangbo, where the river reaches the highest average altitude in the world at 4,000 meters, being known as the Everest of all rivers. The river flows rapidly and roars fiercely through dark canyons, making it look like the open mouth of a very hungry and powerful water dragon today. Massive landslides frequently create temporary dam lakes, which when bursting will form flash floods that sweep away everything in the downstream areas of this wild river. Climbing here requires professional skills, because just one small slip can cause you to fall into a deadly loop with almost no way to escape. The extreme temperature difference creates weather cyclones where thick fog and snowstorms can suddenly strike within just a few seconds of very intense and freezing cold.